Welcome to this deep dive, and
Huh.
it's especially for you all in the asthma friend community.
Yeah.
And, today we are talking about something I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with, and that is how asthma can really change depending on what time of day it is.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll be exploring two specific types. We've got nocturnal asthma,
Right.
which flares up at night,
Yeah.
and morning asthma, which I think you can guess what that is. That's what happens when you wake up.
As you wake up, yeah. And what's so interesting about these two is that it's not just different times of day that you feel it.
Right?
It's actually somewhat different causes as well.
Yeah, it really is like your body and the environment are kind of teaming up to make it extra hard on you at different points of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to help us with that and to make this a little more relatable, we're going to be talking to Siddhant,
Yeah.
who is the founder of Asthma Friend.
Yeah.
And he's dealt with both of these firsthand.
His insights are amazing because it really brings a personal touch to the science. So you can actually see how this plays out in real life.
Okay, let's start with nocturnal asthma.
Okay.
What makes this different from the asthma we might experience during the day?
Well, one of the main things is that there is a natural dip in your lung function that happens in the early morning hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it has to do with your circadian rhythm.
Right, your body clock?
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just that your lungs are working a little less efficiently.
Uh-huh.
The inflammation in your airways actually increases at night too. And we don't really fully understand why that is yet.
So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah,
Less efficient and more inflamed.
exact.
No wonder it's hard to breathe.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you add in the fact that you're lying down,
Oh, right.
which can cause mucus to build up in your airways.
Okay.
It can even restrict airflow just because of the position you're in.
I never really thought about that. Just lying down could affect it so much.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook, but it really does play a big role. And then, of course, there's the environmental factors, too.
Oh, right.
Our bedrooms often harbor allergens like dust mites,
Right.
pet dander mold, which can kind of build up and trigger your symptoms at night.
So that midnight sneezing fit might actually be asthma.
It could be. Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
And for some people, like Siddhant, another big trigger at night is GERD.
Oh, yeah. Gastroesophageal reflux disease.
Yes.
He's mentioned waking up like 2 or 3 times a night, just
Yeah,
gasping for air
it's tough.
because of acid reflux.
It's a really common problem, and when that stomach acid flows back up into your esophagus, it can irritate your airways,
Uh-huh.
trigger that coughing and that breathlessness.
Right?
Siddhant actually found that using a wedge pillow to kind of elevate his upper body
Oh, okay.
really helped to reduce the reflux
Interesting.
and made it easier to breathe at night.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like gravity's helping keep that acid down.
Exactly.
Did he have any other strategies for nighttime asthma?
He also started using a neti pot and nasal sprays at night
Oh.
just to help clear his nasal passages, which can get congested from the reflux.
Right.
And then to minimize the reflux itself, he avoids late night meals and cold drinks, which are known triggers.
Yeah. Okay, so those are things that people listening can actually try themselves.
For sure.
It's nice to know that even simple changes can help.
Absolutely. But now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about morning asthma,
Okay.
which is the kind that hits you right when you're starting your day.
Yeah?
Now, Siddhant's experience with this was a little bit different.
Oh.
He would often wake up with a stuffy nose and like mucus buildup.
Oh, I can imagine that's a pretty rough way to start your day.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the main culprits here is actually mucus again.
Okay.
It tends to accumulate in your airways overnight.
Right.
And then when you wake up, it's all just right there, making it hard to breathe.
So it's like overnight congestion.
Exactly.
Okay.
But there's more to it than just mucus. You remember how we were talking about those cortisol levels dipping early in the morning?
Yeah.
Well, cortisol is a hormone that helps control inflammation.
Right.
And when those levels are low,
Uh-huh.
your airways become way more sensitive,
Right.
which makes you much more susceptible to those triggers like dust mites or cold air.
So it's like our defenses are down in the morning.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And for people who are allergic to dust mites, their bedding can become a major trigger zone.
Oh, no.
Yeah, dust mites thrive in warm, humid environments.
Oh.
So your pillows and mattress are basically dust mite havens.
Not what I wanted to hear.
I know it's not a pleasant thought,
Yeah.
but the good news is that there are things you can do to minimize your exposure,
Okay, good.
like using dust-proof covers, washing your bedding frequently in hot water.
Right.
Siddhant actually found that these steps made a big difference in his morning symptoms.
I'm curious, did he use the neti pot and the nasal sprays in the morning as well?
He did. He found that they really helped to clear out that congestion and made it easier to breathe.
Okay.
He also started drinking warm water first thing in the morning
Oh, okay.
to thin out the mucus.
Those are all great tips.
Good.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
Managing both morning and nighttime asthma seems to involve cutting down on those triggers,
Yeah.
but also treating the specific symptoms that you're dealing with.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that's actually a great transition into talking about the similarities and differences between these two types.
Yeah.
Because while they do share some common ground, understanding what makes them different can be crucial for managing them.
Right. Okay, so we've been talking about nocturnal and morning asthma, like they're totally separate things.
Yeah,
But it seems like there's some overlap, right?
definitely.
Like allergens could be a trigger for both.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Those dust mites we talked about
Right.
can play a role in both nighttime and morning symptoms.
Okay.
And that impact of our circadian rhythm, like the natural dip in lung function in the early morning,
Right.
can also affect both.
Okay.
It's just that those effects might be stronger at night for some people
Yeah.
or in the morning for others.
Right, so it's like a Venn diagram,
Yeah.
with some triggers in the middle.
Uh-huh.
But then each one has its own little section.
Exactly.
What about symptoms? Are there any key differences there?
Yeah, definitely. As we've been talking about, acid reflux tends to be a bigger trigger for nighttime asthma,
Right.
and mucus buildup is usually more noticeable in the morning.
Okay.
It makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah.
We're lying down for hours at night,
Uh-huh.
which can make reflux way more likely.
Right.
And being horizontal also lets that mucus just sit there in the airways.
So it's like our sleeping position
Yeah,
is working against us in two different ways.
it is exactly.
Oh, okay.
And this is a really important point.
Yeah.
Managing morning and nighttime asthma the right way often needs different strategies.
Okay.
It's not like a one-size-fits-all.
So that's where it's really important to understand your own triggers
Definitely.
and your own patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for example, if you're mostly dealing with nighttime asthma,
Okay.
you really need to focus on managing that GERD.
Right.
So that could be things like not eating late at night,
Mm-hmm.
elevating your head with a wedge pillow.
Right. We talked about that.
Yeah, and maybe even talking to your doctor about medications to control that acid reflux.
Okay. And then if the morning congestion is what's getting you.
Right, then tackling that mucus buildup is your top priority.
Okay.
Warm water neti pot, rinses, nasal sprays.
Yeah.
Those can all be helpful.
Okay.
And of course, minimizing allergens in the bedroom is important for both,
Right.
no matter what.
So it's about being kind of like an asthma detective,
Yeah,
figuring out what your triggers are
exactly.
and then what you need to do about them.
I like that.
Yeah.
And remember that Siddhant's experiences
Right.
are just one example.
Yeah.
Everybody's asthma is different. So what works for him
Right.
might not work for everybody.
Of course.
A key is finding what works for you.
Okay. That makes sense. Speaking of things that can change,
Yeah.
we should probably talk about the seasons.
Oh, yeah.
Siddhant mentioned that his symptoms got worse in the winter.
Uh-huh.
Is that something you see a lot?
All the time. Yeah, cold air is a really common asthma trigger
Right.
because it can irritate your airways
Yeah.
and make them constrict.
Right.
And then in the winter, when we're all inside with the heat on,
Uh-huh.
the air gets super dry,
Yeah.
which irritates them even more.
So those cozy winter nights by the fireplace,
Yeah.
maybe not so cozy for our lungs.
Not always, but there are ways to make it better.
Okay.
Like a humidifier can help add moisture to the air.
Right.
Making sure your home is well ventilated can cut down on allergens and irritants.
Good tips.
Mhm.
Okay, so we talked about the differences between morning and nighttime asthma,
Yeah.
some shared triggers, and how the seasons can affect things.
Right.
But I'm wondering, are there any overall management strategies that apply to both?
Definitely.
Okay.
There are some basic things that everyone can do to manage their asthma no matter when their symptoms usually act up.
Okay, I'm ready. What are these asthma essentials?
Well, first and foremost,
Yeah.
you need to work with your doctor
Uh-huh.
to make sure you have a good asthma action plan in place.
Right.
And that should include a medication plan
Okay.
that's really personalized for you.
So for some people, that could mean changing medications or dosages depending on whether it's worse at night or in the morning.
Exactly. And your doctor can help you figure out if a long-acting bronchodilator
Okay.
or an inhaled corticosteroid might be good for you,
Uh-huh.
especially if those nighttime symptoms are a problem.
Okay.
They can also help you figure out the best time to take your meds.
Right. So it's not just about having a plan, it's about having the right plan.
Exactly. Now, another key thing we talked about is minimizing those triggers.
Right.
And when it comes to indoor triggers,
Yeah.
Nothing beats a good old-fashioned cleaning routine.
Okay, so time to channel Marie Kondo.
Yes, exactly.
Declutter the airways.
Dust mites, pet dander mold, they love to hide in clutter.
Oh, yeah.
So regular dusting, vacuuming, washing your bedding in hot water,
Right.
that can all make a big difference.
Okay.
And like we said before, dust-proof covers on your mattress and pillows are a must.
Those all sound like pretty doable steps,
They are.
even for someone who doesn't really love to clean.
For sure. And for some people, an air purifier with a HEPA filter can be helpful too.
Yeah.
Because those filters trap all those allergens and irritants.
Right.
Keeps your home's air cleaner.
Okay, that makes sense. What about triggers outside the home, though?
Yeah.
Like pollen or air pollution?
Right. Those are tough.
Yeah.
And that's where knowing about air quality forecasts and pollen counts can be helpful.
Right.
There are apps and websites that tell you all that.
Oh, cool.
So you can plan around it.
Yeah.
Like if it's going to be a high pollen day,
Uh-huh.
maybe work out inside that day. Or wear a mask when you go out.
I like that being proactive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another part of being proactive is listening to your body.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel your asthma getting worse,
Yeah.
don't ignore it.
Right.
Talk to your doctor. Check your action plan.
Okay.
See if you need to adjust anything.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to get busy
Yeah.
and just ignore those warning signs.
It is.
Yeah.
But remember, even a small change in your breathing
Uh-huh.
or some extra coughing,
Yeah.
that could be your body telling you something's up.
Right.
And the sooner you do something about it,
Yeah.
the better.
Okay. I'm feeling empowered.
Good.
We've covered so much.
We have.
But there's one more important piece.
Okay.
The asthma friend community.
Yeah.
Why is being a part of this so helpful for people with asthma?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's something that Siddhant talks about a lot.
Yeah.
He really believes that no one should have to go through this alone. The Asthma Friend community is a place for people to connect with others who understand what it's like to live with asthma, share their experiences, ask questions, support each other.
So it's like a built-in support system
Exactly.
for all things asthma.
Yeah, it's a place to celebrate your WindShare's tips.
Yeah.
And just vent about the frustrations that only other people with asthma really get.
And I bet having that community feeling can be really empowering,
It is.
especially when things are hard.
It makes a huge difference to know you're not alone.
Well said. Okay, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive
Okay.
with some final thoughts. So we've talked about a lot in this deep dive, nighttime and morning asthma and how to manage those triggers
Yeah,
and symptoms and all of that.
we have.
I think the biggest thing I'm taking away from this is that you have to be proactive,
Right.
really take control of your asthma management.
I totally agree with that. The more you know,
Yeah,
the more you can understand your own asthma patterns, the better you can make decisions for yourself.
right. It's not just about, doing what your doctor tells you.
Yeah.
It's about actually taking part in your own care.
Exactly. It's about being that asthma detective.
Yeah.
Noticing those little changes in your breathing
Ah.
and knowing when something needs to change.
Right.
When to talk to your doctor.
And that's where the Asthma Friend community is so great.
Yeah.
It really gives you that space to keep learning and, get support from other people,
For sure.
which can make such a difference when you're dealing with asthma.
Definitely sharing your experiences, trading tips, and just knowing you're not alone.
Right.
That can really help.
So for everyone listening,
Yeah,
join the Asthma Friend community if you haven't already.
definitely.
It's such a good resource. And it's free.
Yeah.
You can meet other people who get what you're going through,
Uh-huh.
find helpful articles and resources,
Right.
even go to events and discussions online.
It's awesome.
And if this deep dive has been helpful for you,
Yeah.
please share it with others.
For sure.
The more we talk about asthma
Uh-huh.
and share what we know,
Yeah.
the better we can all manage it.
Exactly.
We're all in this together.
We are.
That's it for this deep dive.
Okay.
We hope you learned something
Yeah.
and that you feel a little more in control.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.